Hi, my name is Dennis Siri. I am Executive Director and founder of the New York City Independent Film Festival, Independent in Spirit, International at Heart, and this is the New York City Independent Film Festival Meet the Filmmakers podcast. Join us while we meet this year's filmmakers. Thank you. Bye bye. Hi, in this episode, I'm going to talk to the cast and crew from Only Human. Welcome, guys. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi. So Michelle, do you want to start since you are the recording artist and musician?
Sure will. All right. Hello. My name is Michelle Pauker. I'm an actress, singer, songwriter, artist in general. From Connecticut, originally based in New York City. And I wrote the music and lyrics to Only Human.
Okay.
A little bit about me. Let's see. I love what I do. I love art in all forms. I painted this painting behind me. I really just, and not getting too much into, the project itself yet. I know these are just introductions, but my favorite thing about this art form is collaboration. So it's been just a joy to work with some of my closest friends and also some of my most talented friends to really create something amazing together. So I've been doing this since I was a kid. Studied musical theater at Baldwin Wallace University in right outside of Cleveland. It's in Ohio, and I just singing is something that I've done forever. I would say the acting came into it soon after, and the songwriting didn't come till a little bit later. The songwriting itself has been a journey of, I think, lyrics first for me. I have huge inspirations from Joni Mitchell is probably my biggest lyric wise. Not that this piece is anything like Joni's music, but when it comes to just listening for metaphors and use of language to create something beautiful, something colorful, something new, um, she's definitely my go-to, as well as some of the others from her era, the Beatles, Carole King, James Taylor, but I also newer artists. Love Fiona Apple, love Brynn and I listen to, love Billie Eilish. I'm loving just listening to newer artists and artists from a time before, and kind of putting together my favorite things about their songwriting.
That's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Gorgeous. Yeah, off of that, I think Michelle and I share that a lot. We both are very interested in a lot of different art forms, whatever I think form that creative expression takes at the time, or whatever we feel is best to express something that we've been interested in expressing. That makes sense. But yeah, so I had a similar start to Michelle. We both studied musical theater. We were roommates freshman year of college, and then I transferred to Rider University, New Jersey, studied musical theater there. And I think around then I started to want to write a little bit. My interest in direction didn't come until later. I think I just kind of, having studied theater and being a singer myself and actor, I never really thought of being on the other side. But I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of creative people who do make their own projects. Some mutual friends of ours write, and we've read some of their early works and things. And I found myself kind of having a lot of opinions on things. And so I feel like the impetus for me to start being on the other side was kind of, I'm like, you have a lot of opinions on the way other people are directing or the way other people are writing. Not bad, just like, adding on or new ideas. And it just occurred to me at one point, I was like, well, maybe you should do it yourself if you have so many thoughts on it. Like, you seem to be interested in this. Like in school, in our like script analysis classes for actors, I feel like a lot of actors found that very boring, and I found myself having a lot of like one-on-one conversations in the middle of class with teachers, which is kind of a sign like, okay, maybe explore this interest. So that's a bit about how my interest in like directing and how that happened. And yeah, the point I'm at now is I'm an actor, and I'm kind of similarly to Michelle, just looking to allow my creativity to venture into whatever mode of expression, I guess is what I would say that um leads to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's enough on me. I will send it to Jules.
Hello,
Uh,
Jules. Do you have
hey,
a chance to talk?
yes. My name is Jules Geiss. I use they, them pronouns. I was the choreographer for the music video. And I had a very interesting upbringing. I trained in ballet for like my whole life up until probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I trained at Houston Ballet Academy in their pre-professional program. I was dancing 9 to 6, 6 days a week, doing my high school online when I got home and living alone when I was like 16 years old. Um, I got a job with Milwaukee Ballet Second Company the following year, and I danced there for about a season and a half. But I felt very constricted within the confines of ballet. It's a very old art form, and not a lot changes and grows with it. And I was rapidly growing and changing as a person, and I was outgrowing the vessel I was a part of. And I had been taking voice lessons for a while because my mom's a singer, and she was like, "You should sing too," because I just want someone else to sing in our family. Um, so I decided to switch over to musical theater. So I never had any like real formal training in it. My training was kind of on the job. I booked the national tour of Cats like 6 months after leaving ballet, and that was my like on the job training of like how to deal with doing 8 shows a week and like singing and dancing and acting and doing all that stuff. But throughout my training in Houston, I was often asked to assist with choreographers and sort of sit in the front of the room and watch because they saw that I had this really great eye for breaking things down. And I love watching a piece of choreography and going, but how do I do that? How can I create that message? And I love watching how you can take the same piece of music. There are videos like this on YouTube. You can take the same piece of music and give it to 4 choreographers, and it's a completely different vision each time. And I like to think I have a unique perspective, and so I like to share that. So when Michelle said, I wrote this awesome song, and Brynn was like, we would love choreography for it. Are you interested? I was like, hell yeah, I will absolutely be doing that. And I met Michelle and Brynn through a mutual friend who's my partner. They went to school together and all know each other really well. And now these two are like literally some of my closest friends, and we do projects together all the time, and it's just great.
Hey, awesome. You answered about 2/3 of the questions, but it's all good. We'll continue the conversation going.
We can talk. We're talkers.
We're talkers.
It seems that way.
Actors.
Talk about.
All right. So my first question is, what made you want to be a filmmaker?
Yeah. So for me as the filmmaker in this little trio, I think you know, watching, I think this is the answer for most creatives, is like growing up and finding yourself very impacted by a certain art form, and like looking up to certain creatives and wanting to kind of have that impact on people or share your thoughts and your feelings and your ideas in through the same way that you have been impacted by creators who came before you. I think that's the most succinct way I can say that.
Okay. And
I love that. And piggybacking off of that, I mean, film as one piece of it, but music as well, theater, stage, everything that, we're a little bit more used to in our backgrounds. It's all about connecting with somebody, which includes film, even though you can't see the audience right there, you can't feel them in front of you. You know that this is going to reach somebody. And if someone can be affected by what you're putting out there, or maybe just have new thoughts, or it can spark conversations between groups of people, that's, I think, the coolest thing about art. Sometimes art is difficult to understand, or people see two things completely differently. And I love putting something out there that could create a conversation. What do we think this is really about? And what aren't we hearing? Or what can we think of that maybe the artist didn't even think when they were creating this? What can we create from this and, you know, use to inspire our new art?
Yeah, all that. All of that.
Okay, that's great. You guys are fun. All right. So how long have you been doing this?
So I think I can say for all of us, we're all fairly new, especially to this type of work. I think this is everybody's first music video. Jules, have you choreographed for another? No. Yeah, so this is all of our first project of this type. So we're really excited to be embarking on this kind of journey.
Oh, great. Well, glad you did. All right. I kind of answered this question also, but the next
Yeah.
question is, how did you decide to make this music video?
Yeah, so actually this is a good one. We can talk about this a little bit more because Michelle, I feel like it was what, like 2021, right? 2020 even. We're in the middle of the pandemic, and I feel like you probably have heard this from other people as well, because I think it was a time where a lot of people were kind of having to settle down, having to stop their output in the way that probably they had been like doing before because it was the pandemic. So I think this really came out of that time of everyone kind of taking a pause and kind of reassessing what is important to them, what kind of art do they want to create, and how do they want to show up in the world. So not only like through the art that they're making, but also like the lyrics of this song really speak to that feeling of how do I want to be a human, it's called only human, be a human in the world, and how do I want to relate to other people, what kind of conversations do I want to be having with other people, do I want to be continually kind of pretending I'm okay, especially in a time of collective like pain and uncertainty like the pandemic. So yeah, I think Michelle's lyrics speak to that anxiety I think we were having as a society, as individuals, especially as artists or anyone in a career that is not certain in that time. So her lyrics really spoke to me. And I kind of just immediately had one of those experiences where you just visualize what this would look like. As if you're, I think, a visual artist, sometimes you're inspired by something and you go, I know exactly what I want that to look like. So once she showed me the song, I said, once this is developed, I would love to try and make this into a music video. And so that is kind of a long-winded answer, but that's that's how it came about for me.
When I first wrote the song, actually, I had no thoughts about it becoming a music video. I was just going to be happy if I actually finished it and got it produced. And Brynn sparked this fire when she clearly saw something and she said, what do you think about making it into a music video? And I was like, I'm in as long as, you know, you can take that portion of it. And it's interesting, you know, you speak about the lyrics, and I think it's one of those things that it's changed. The meaning of it has kind of morphed over the years. I mean, I think that it definitely did come out of a place of anxiety, a place of, you know, where do I fit in this world? And everybody likes to, it was actually 2020 when I at least got introduced to like the rise of TikTok. I was watching a 13-year-old who was just like obsessed with this, you know, I got to put this out there, I got to put that out there. And while that's great for content creators now to be able to make these quick videos, it felt intimidating. It still feels intimidating for me, you know, putting things out there and having to create content, keep going, and people ask you what's next. And sometimes we don't always have an answer. And sometimes it's about, you know, what are you creating next? What project are you working on? What names can you drop? Or how much money is that going to make you? Or, you know, shouldn't you do a career that's a little bit more stable? There are all these different voices in one's head. And I think that anyone can relate, whether they're working as an artist or any other profession. There's this huge expectation that society kind of puts on us to be superhuman in a way, it feels like. So Only Human kind of came from that place of, you know, the lyrics, if you really want to help, ask me about my mental health. And And now, years later, and I'm doing a lot better than I was a couple years ago. I don't know about you all, but I still feel that way, where great things are happening and people are asking what's next. And I feel like I have to have a memorized list of answers. What's coming next in the career? And, you know, if you want to help, if you want to know what's really going on, ask me about my mental health, because it's great. And that's the definition of success, more so than, you know, what names can you drop and what great project, you know, what music video, what festival did your music video get into? So that's all well and good. But I think that that's what the song really feels like it's about. And I love that it got to be made into something larger than I had expected.
Do you have anything to add to that, Jules?
Yeah, I think by the time that they had kind of come to me with, we would like this to be a music video with dancing, we were wondering if maybe you would like to be a part of it. I was like, oh, absolutely. Let me listen to the song. Like, send it to me. I'll see. Because I'm very much of the mindset of like, I'm not going to agree to a project that doesn't speak to me, like emotionally, spiritually. So I was like, I'll listen to the song and I love you both so much, but if I don't like it, I'm gonna say no. And I listened to it and immediately understood what Brynn had pitched to me about our concept for the video. And I was immediately seeing movement. And it's that same moment that Brynn was just talking about, where you immediately are like, oh, got it. I know what I want to happen here and here and here. And especially as somebody who I've choreographed for ballet companies, I've choreographed for, you know, little small studios here and there. It was an interesting challenge to try and choreograph for film, which I've never done before. And so movement doesn't have to be huge because you're not in a big 1,000-seat theater. You know, you're in this small space where you can make small movement that matters way more. And so it was a really exciting opportunity for me to sort of branch into that aspect of things. And I loved it. So I will continue to do it.
That's great. You guys definitely seem to be enjoying this, which is very cool.
We love it. No other reason to do it.
It's true. All right, so what was the hardest part and what was the most fun part of the whole project?
Yeah. So I think the hardest part was this being our first project of this type. Well, we all come from like theater backgrounds, so producing theater and producing film are obviously different beasts. The skill sets are like can be similar as far as like production, but I think that was the most difficult part probably for all of us, as we all like helped with the production aspects. Just figuring out like, you know, how do we fund it? How do we communicate with our other collaborators who maybe we haven't worked with as extensively? How do we, you know, get the space, just all of the production aspects as we did.
Raising money.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
That was, yeah. So, but as difficult as it was, I think we all really looked at this as a learning experience, and it gave us just that. We really learned so much from doing this.
One of the most fun parts for me was watching that first rehearsal. That, you know, I say watching because I'm not much of a dancer. So Jules was able to give me more of the minimal dancing. I'm mostly the voice and the acting. But watching these dancers coming in, friends, some people who I didn't know, but you know, Brynn knew, and just watching Jules, the way that they choreographed this piece and Brynn's vision, the way that the two of them worked together, and hearing it to my music, it was so beautiful. I will never forget how, I want to find the right word, just how accomplished I felt when I saw all of this coming together. And it was just the true collaboration of it all, and seeing us do this out of the love and the joy of it. It made it feel larger than me. It made it feel like a group project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the most fun part is similar to that, when we started doing like film tests with like an iPhone, and we're like, okay, so how does this shot look when, you know, people are like that, and I can watch the thing that I was like cradling for months, like now be in space. It never gets old. It
Yeah.
never ever gets old. Watching your brainchild be born It's just so like
Jules
it's
and I in
a
Central
unique
Park.
experience. Yes. Brynn and I had a meeting in Central Park where I was showing her stuff. Like it's the middle of like summer. We're like dripping sweat and I'm like rolling around on the ground being like, just wait, it's going to be so good. And then to see it like realized is a feeling that as a creative, when you're on stage, you don't always get. When you're in front of the camera, you don't always get that same experience of watching it form. Being able to just see that like it never gets old. It's the best.
All right, great. Sounds like you guys definitely had a lot of fun. And you learned a lot, which is even better.
A lot.
Mhm.
All right, so, and then when this project was done, maybe this is more for Brynn. When this project was done, were you happy? Or did you sit there and go, I could have done this so much better?
Yeah,
Were
I
you
think
happy?
I think they're laughing because whenever I do anything, I immediately sit there and go, "Oh, we could have done this, we could have done that." You know, I don't know if you're that type of person, but I'm certainly that type of person. We're working on it. Yeah,
You have to finish this project so that you can start concentrating on the next one.
exactly. I'm like, that was terrible. On to the next one. So, yeah, so I think I was definitely happy with it because we did achieve it and it did like I am happy about the final product. I'm so happy about how people received it. But there are definitely like I said, it was a learning experience and that was something we really got out of it. And this being my first time directing, I guess maybe like a cast of this size, I would say. And just there were a lot of moving pieces. We had 8 dancers. So I think the biggest takeaway for me was just being a bit more assertive. I think that's something that I look back at the final product and go, okay, it's like, don't be afraid to assert yourself. And like, you know, I think I'm used to working with smaller groups of people who I already have a working relationship with. So that was definitely one thing that I felt like the length of time, the money all contributed to that, if that makes sense. Either of you, is this making yeah.
And
That
I
makes
think that
sense.
I think you need to cut yourself some slack to
Yeah.
in general, because I think we're never really, if we feel
Yeah.
like it's done and it's perfect, somebody else is going to find something to pick apart. So I think that, I mean, coming out of it, we had a little viewing party a couple months after the product was finished, for friends and loved ones at a bar in Brooklyn, and we did just a screening, and I think it really touched people, and I think that it gave people something to talk about, which I loved. I mean, I think it's still not released to the public yet. We were waiting on film festivals for that, but I'll be interested to see how it's received as a first project, but from people who put a lot into it. And I think that it's only going to allow us to know how to make those little amendments when we do another.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel similar. I'm happy with what we were able to accomplish, but there are things I look at and I go, ooh, okay, I know how to do this thing better or how to get the same effect from less or more. Because again, film is just a different media.
Mhm.
But personally, as an artist, uh, I'm of the belief that if you don't look back on something that you did and find flaws with it, you can't grow. So there's no way to look forward and how do I make the next project something I'm equally as proud of, if not more proud of, if I don't look back at this one and be like, okay, I want to fix this little thing and shift this so that the next time I do this, it grows with me as a person, because that's what art's for, you know?
I
But
totally, I totally agree. Yeah. I think like there's something to be said for that, Jules, because then you're not just replicating your work, you are moving forward and picking different things to focus on. I'll say also just one more thing on this. I think Jules and I have talked a lot about choreography for film is a very specific thing. And we talk about how like the camera is almost another dancer or
mhm.
another part of the movement. And so I think Jules and I will be working on another project coming up soon. And so we've really talked a lot about how do we how do we work with our videographer, cinematographer, camera op to really incorporate the camera as a dancer? Which again is like a big ask for our poor camera op, like dancing
Running.
around. But
Yeah.
it's all about finding the right collaborators and finding someone who's like our lovely videographer for this one, Dan, was excited about doing.
Great. All right, my next question is, we all know that as an indie filmmaker, you're never going to be rich, you're never going to get private jets and buy mansions. So what would you consider success in the indie film world? Besides the fact that you finally get that big break and you go work with Steven Spielberg. So I'm talking about in the indie film world, what is success?
Sure, yeah. So since I'm the filmmaker of the mix, I'll take this one. I think for me, for any art form, I think the biggest thing that I always think about is what our audience is receiving from this. Like, how is this impacting the people I'm showing it to, right? That's a big thing, obviously, for any artist, but also like a benchmark for success for me in art forms where maybe money isn't the big target is looking at the people I look up to or the people whose opinions I respect and getting to have conversations with them about them appreciating my art. I think that's the big target of success for me, is are the people whose opinions I care about and value and whose thoughts I value receiving this in a way that feels good to me.
Reception is a huge part of it. And I think as actors, artists, directors, dancers, choreographers, we all seek that validation. And that's a huge part of it. But there's also something to be said about personal growth as well. And
Yes.
if you've done something that you are proud of, whether it's perfect or not, you made it happen. And you're looking at it and you don't need anybody else to tell you that it's good, tell you their opinion. Because at the end of the day, it's something you look at and you're like, I put that out there. I created that. I did it with my friends. I think the song is all about defining success. And I think that everybody has their own definition or definitions, and sometimes that changes. So I think that anything you can find, anything positive you can find to tell yourself after you've completed something artistic that comes from your heart is so much more important than you can always find a million negative things to tell yourself. So the more personal growth, the more positively you can feel about yourself as an artist, and using that as sort of the momentum to push you forward into the next project. That's one piece of the success.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
I think also just for me personally, like I would rather be like one person's like obsession than like 100 people's like okay thing. I'd rather have like a select group of people be like, we love what you do so much. We appreciate it. We see it. Than be like base game where like everybody has it in. I'd rather find like a niche group of people that really understand what I'm trying to portray. And I think with this video, that is accomplished. There's going to be a group of people who are going to watch this and go, I know exactly what's happening and I'm obsessed with this. And then, then that creates more collaborations in the future with people who are interested in making the kind of art that we want to create. Because like as artists, you're never done, or at least I'm not. The minute we were done with this, Brynn and I were like, so next time when we do a video,
Yeah.
like we will be, like immediately afterwards, we were like, that's a wrap. So for the next project, like that's just part of who I am as a person, as I'm always looking at like, well, how do I get to the next thing? And how do I put a piece of myself into each thing so that you can track my progress as a person throughout all of it? Because, art's a little time capsule. And so I think everything that everyone said, but also just like finding a group of like-minded people is always exciting with a project.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. I'm actually done with my questions. Do you have anything you want to say? Any comments? Any little tidbits? Or
I mean, we talk a lot. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
This is actually really great. This will be great once I edit it.
Oh, great. Yeah. I think I feel like we're just really excited to have this be a first step for us. This will be the first showing we have of the music video. So
Awesome.
Really excited to like launch it off and to have, I don't know, have a chance to celebrate with our collaborators, and we're really excited to continue making things together.
It's going to be shown Friday evening at 10:15 with a bunch of other music videos at the New York City Independent Film Festival. That's June 7th. The festival is the 4th to the 7th, 8th. But thank you guys. I'm actually going to turn off record.